So, real quick before I start this video, this is Doom. Don't get me wrong, I mean, there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't played the game yet and you want to be spoiler free, if it's on your hit list, by all means, click away from this video. But this game is one of the most violent first-person shooter games of all time. Not only that, but there are a lot of demonic creatures in this game. If this bothers you, or you are under 17, I would recommend turning away now. But with that out of the way, let's get on to talking about Doom. I never thought I'd say that within this year in a video. Sure, the thought of playing Doom was there, but I'm not a big FPS kind of gamer. First-person shooters is what FPS means if you're not aware. They typically don't interest me. However, with all the talk about Doom recently, all the retro games on modern consoles, and Doom Eternal coming out, I decided to watch a popular Let's Player to satisfy my curiosity. And I went out and bought Doom 2016 soon afterwards. Sure, I've played the original Doom despite my parents trying to keep me from violent video games, but I never really set out to beat it. It was still only a casual play at a friend's house or something like that. I never played any of the other games in the series either. I didn't even know there was a Doom 64 until doing research of this video. And I'd barely heard of Doom 3, but from what little I did, I'm guessing the impressions of said game wasn't exactly great. Doing further research, it seems there are people who like Doom 3 and defend it, but it was polarized a lot from bad to good. Wait, wouldn't Doom 3 actually be the fourth game in the series? Weird naming conventions never help anything. Regardless, Bethesda decided to reboot the franchise, and this release, Doom, the fifth game in the series. Oh man. We are going to refer to this as Doom 2016, and that's what we're reviewing here. The original Doom left a huge legacy, and while the other FPSs have improved the series, Doom was probably the most revolutionary, given Wolfenstein 3D released first, but Doom was far more popular and cemented the FPS genre in gamers' minds. For better or worse. Doom is the biggest reason people bring up violent video games and school shootings. The Columbine Massacre is a horrible event that happened and was inspired by the original Doom. Because of this, violence in video games has been a hot debate for a long time, and I'm not here to necessarily talk about that. My job is to review games, but Doom's history can't be fully ignored either. Regardless, it is time to dive into the gates of hell and kill pretty much any demon dumb enough to be anywhere nearby. Let's take on the Spider Mastermind! So, the plot to Doom 2016 is this. Doom Guy, or Doom Slayer, I prefer Doom Slayer, but I go by Doom Guy as well, wakes up on Mars. He was found in a coffin in hell, and his robot guy named Samuel retrieved him. Turns out Dr. Samuel Hayden wanted to use Doom Slayer as a backup plan in case his employee, named Olivia Pierce, went a little off the rocker. And she does. Olivia becomes obsessive with demons and eventually worships them, allowing them to invade Mars and the facility they're all on, run by a company called UAC. Doom Slayer's job is basically to do things in order to stop an entire portal of hell from being opened up. However, it is opened up anyway and eventually has to return from hell to do more things to close the portal, including several return trips to hell. So if you couldn't tell, the story is one big fetch quest for Doom Slayer to close this portal to hell. It is super simple to the point of non-existent, and while I don't mind writing like this, I don't think it's super great here. The main plot keeps you going, giving you reasons for what you're doing, but character dialogue is lacking. Samuel is interesting, but you can tell he is the intelligent type who knows more than he lets on, and, he's intelligent, reasonable, blah blah blah. Olivia is literally there to move the plot forward. She is shocked that the demons betrayed her in the end, like, oh yeah, evil creatures being evil is just shocking, I guess. Olivia is a researcher. What made her think this was a good idea is just beyond me. Knowing damn well the demons are invaders and incredibly dangerous, she figures she will trust them based on their word? Really? There should be more to this, but you barely ever actually see her. Other than a clip of the past here and there and a few interactions with her, this is just straight up lacking. Also, you don't kill her directly. She ends up fusing with the final boss and dies with it. Even the final boss seems to have little to speak of. Unfortunately, Doomslayer is a silent protagonist, and while that's fine, Sammy Boy and Pierce don't necessarily make up for Doomslayer's missing dialogue. While they are interesting characters, they're not interesting enough to, help the writing out in any way, shape, or form. Vega, the computer-programmed AI, is definitely slightly more interesting and has more dialogue, but he's also not interesting enough either to bring the writing up, although Doomslayer backs up Vega at some point in the game. There is, of course, more to these characters, however. Yeah, unfortunately, any actual writing effort went into the vague but book-length secret information pieces you find around the game. These secrets improve the lack of character writing and story in the main game, but if you don't take the time to read or even find these, the game is incredibly lacking and left me wanting way more than what was delivered. I at least knew why I was here during the missions, though, so I guess it kinda worked. So while on these missions to fetch whatever and kill every demon in your wake, what's the charm to the area? Well, one thing Doom is known for, it's the music that pumps you up for, demon slaying. This game doesn't let you down. Each mission has different music and it works well with the atmosphere of the game. The levels are dynamic and despite only being on Mars or Hell, each mission has a unique look. The demons also look fantastic, as ugly as they are, and glory kills are as gory as ever. Sound effects make things even more rewarding to the player, and while not enough was actually said, the voice acting was pretty decent in my opinion. The cool part is that these demons are perfect 3D renditions of the demons from the original Doom. Hell, Spider Mastermind was the final boss of the original Doom, so yeah, the game looks fantastic because of this. Designs to the characters were pretty good, Samuel towering over Doomslayer and Olivia looking creepy while still seeming semi-human. This game has a nostalgic feel to it for those who played Doom back in the day, and that kind of thing is always appreciated. Especially when you're killing demons in a very metal and gory fashion. So, when it comes to Doom, I couldn't really tell you much about the gameplay of any of the other games. It has been a long time since I've played Doom, the original, and while that may change in the future, at the time of writing this review, I don't remember much. However, this game is fast, action-packed, gory, and each gun has a reason to exist. Basically, you explore in a first-person view, meaning you see everything Doomslayer sees. You explore each area in his shoes and basically fight demons. You can crouch, throw a grenade or hologram when you have them, and shoot guns. There are also a few specific buttons for a few specific weapons. For example, the chainsaw or the BFG, which also have their own uses. I won't go over every weapon, but some are automatic and some I use more often for close-range combat, like the super shotgun. The chainsaw is for close-range kills and securing ammo for your gun. The BFG is basically a screen nuke, or rather kills nearly anything in front of you, as long as you halfway aim. Boss characters also take heavy damage from BFG ammo. You use what works for you. I typically fought things with the super shotgun until I knew the area better. Bigger threats are these flying testes. I'd use the Gauss rifle. I hate these flying heads, if I'm to be honest. Then for demons that are basically mini-boss fights, I'd bring out the BFG to vaporize them quickly. In a particularly difficult room, or when I ran out of ammo for one of these particular guns, I'd end up bringing out the chain gun. Just this huge, mowing down everything kind of weapon. You can also sometimes find power-ups, which means for a limited amount of time you can either one-shot everything, move faster, or have extra power in each shot of your gun. When a foe is particularly weak, they may flash colors. Use a melee attack nearby will glory kill them, a flashy death animation with some extra health for you. Doomslayer has a health bar and an armor bar. You can find armor like health, making you basically harder to kill. Speaking of hard to kill, while it looks like Doomslayer would be slower, he's actually very quick on his feet, able to jump and dodge a variety of attacks. The gameplay is fast and can be frantic, but nothing struck me as unfair. Once I knew what I was up against, I typically destroyed everything after a try or two. Let me sing you a song on how the gameplay makes me feel. You know, for assurance of my enjoyment of this game. Let's get down to business and mow down everyone. Did they send me bitches when I asked for demons? You're the saddest bunch I've ever met, but you can bet before we're through. Yes, I'll carve my name into you. Tinder for the burning, your bones will make. Heed my every warning and die in my wake. You're all built for the rage of war, and yet I still break through. That's why I'll carve my name into you. Ah, Disney parodies. Regardless, the gameplay is easily the best part of this game, which is a pleasure to say and gush over. However, the level design housing the gameplay is one of the low points. Not the worst point, that's still the writing. Still, the level design is a far cry from what it should be. I'm not saying every mission is bad, but there are a lot of levels with very similar setups. You walk through a hallway or a linear clearing, maybe find a secret, and then enter a very spacious room with tons of demons to fight. It gets to be predictable on when you're going to experience a war zone. Not that there aren't cool set pieces to play on. It just gets so predictable and can get old very quickly. Even I noticed how repetitious some of these levels got, and I'm pretty forgiving about that kind of thing. None of the levels are like this, however. Some levels are more open to exploration where you're finding objectives rather than going from room to room. These are admittedly pretty fun. From a furnace of fun to Vega's brain, these levels are typically more open-ended on how to deal with threats and are more entertaining for sure. Luckily, there are enemies to fight, which helps bring up some of the flaws. The game likes to introduce enemies until late into the game. Most, if not all, enemies in the game have unique methods to deal with them, allowing for weapon experimentation. Although all enemies can die to the super shotgun, if I'm to be honest. Still, some enemies are better to take out long range, and some are easier to deal with close up if you're careful. However, this only works when the game is introducing newer enemies. While even the variant versions of enemies are interesting, this stops happening towards the end of the game. Different battle setups with these enemies can only take you so far. This is my way of saying the last, about 3 missions basically spice things up by just throwing more of these enemies your way. This makes the last couple of levels more repetitious, which is about when I started noticing the issue. Not gonna lie, this issue doesn't bug me like it does other people, but these last 3 levels even I noticed the problem. Really big issue. Now if we were to have more boss fights, maybe I wouldn't complain as much? Yeah, the boss fights in FPS, a recipe for disaster, right? Well, not exactly. These boss fights are actually not very terrible, which is unusual, but I guess it happens. The Cyber Demon was a pain and late into the game for the first boss fight. A friend told me about his second stage, so I didn't use up all my BFG ammo in the first phase. Totally didn't need to learn that by experience, and totally wasn't left with 1 round of it in the more difficult second phase. Yeah. I hear it is possible to beat the boss like this. Totally. I also hear if you can beat the Cyber Demon like this, you have the makings to be a badass review YouTuber for gaming, but that's just a rumor. Ugh, damn Cyber Demon. Anyway, the Guardian boss fight is completely different. Similar for sure, but different attacks, methods, and it ends up being 2 of them in Phase 2. And lastly, the Spider Mastermind, which, is fun, but honestly less complicated to deal with than the first 2 bosses, and the only one with 1 phase, making it kind of easier to kill in a way. It was fun crushing these bosses, and not all the levels are super repetitious, but there are enough hallway simulator levels to be noticeable, even when the ever-expanding enemy list that wasn't ever-expanding. At least killing the demons is super fun with the great gameplay. So you'd probably think with hallway linear level design there wouldn't be that many secrets, right? Ha! Not even close. The only real issue with playing the game to unlock everything is some of the levels aren't designed to work well with hidden collectibles. Since the stage is linear, sometimes you can't backtrack in the level all that well. Still, that goes into the level design issue that, so far, I've beat a dead demon with. The collectibles aren't exactly at fault here. Not only can you find weapons and ammo by simple exploration, you can also find other hidden goodies too. Action figures allow you to view character and weapon models in the main menu. Data drives actually bring out good writing. Yeah, so there is actually a ton of lore and story in this game, but it isn't the story you're playing. If you want background data on characters like Hayden or Doomslayer, then you have to find these data drives. Killing demons, the normal day-to-day for Doomslayer. I don't mind adding lore and writing in this method, but I don't agree with gutting the main story to give more prominence to optional collectibles. Oh well, I digress. You can find Terminal in the level to fill up your map, and it helps find more collectibles, so that's helpful. You can also find hidden switches leading to secret rooms. These rooms look very retro in graphics, and unlocks a secret mission that emulates a level from Doom or Doom 2. I say emulate these missions because you're basically using the current gameplay engine. They just recreate the levels using retro graphics for everything, but you and the demons function basically in the current gameplay, not the retro gameplay. Regardless, these are incredibly fun to find, and they up the total level count that you can play in, which isn't a bad thing at all. Lastly, any other optional collectible upgrades, things like Doomslayer's suit and weapons. You can get optional gear to add to your guns and suit upgrades. Some upgrades also boost health, ammo, or armor. Exploration is very useful. Eventually you get a double jump of sorts, which can help gather some trickier collectibles, but due to the level design, it is rare you'll ever need this thing, and even if you are paying attention, most secrets are easy enough to come across in the linear stages. Again, this goes back to the level design issue, but still, collectibles are so good that it almost makes up for it, and I highly recommend going after them if you do end up playing the game. Also, if you pretty much mow down every demon, you can even upgrade your weapon upgrades. Good luck hunting! So, as I give my overall opinion, there's something to keep in mind. I'm only reviewing the single player part of this game. There is an expansive multiplayer option here too, and I hear there's still a thriving community on this game to date, though that may change with Doom Eternal being released. If you are more multiplayer oriented, this game may be better for you in that regard. I'm a single player kind of guy, and overall, I still had a lot of fun with this game. Looking at the campaign critically though, I'd probably have to give the game a 7 out of 10 for recommendation. The game is good and solid for sure, and I recommend it if you are interested, but there are some issues. If you're looking into an interesting story, you will need to collect some of the secrets, or this game will get dull really fast when it comes to the writing aspect. The level design is sometimes flawed, with some levels being exploration and open, while other levels are just hallways with one battle room to the next, with a few secrets here and there littering the hallways. Outside of that though, Doom hits all the marks it needed to. While I'm no expert at FPS, the gameplay is what drew me in. Fast, frantic, and really fun. Unique tactics and unique enemies also help a lot and makes the levels a bit more varied, thankfully. Also, there's a ton of charm in music and backdrop to the stage. The collectibles are really good. This gives people who don't like harder difficulties something to search for in each level, but the harder difficulties are there if the game isn't challenging enough for most people. Finding collectibles improves Doomslayer weapons, writing, adds retro design missions, and unlocks model viewers for enemies, characters, and weapons. What this game stumbles on, it stumbles hard. But what the game gets right, it does so well, I feel it more than makes up for it. But that's all the time I have for this review. If everything goes right, the next review will be River City Girls. My script actually has Ocarina of Time. Ha ha ha, no. It's most likely going to be River City Girls. I finished it with my friend. I'm writing the script. That's going to be next. Ocarina of Time should be after that. Unless I finish Final Fantasy VI quicker than I thought. Regardless, I'll see you next time, my minions. Assuming you hit the subscribe button and bell icon, that is. Bye-bye.